Hi everybody, hope you're doing well. So, I'm always on the prowl for pinephone Kool-Aid drinkers spewing the propaganda that it's a good phone. And I've found another one today. This is a pizza loving nerd kind of guy. He's young and he claims he used the pinephone every day for a year. So we're gonna go over his document. You can find it on news.itsfoss.com/pinephone hyphen review. That's itsfoss.com. Let's do that again. News.itsfoss.com. itsfoss.com. Pinephone dash review. Okay. So the guy's name is Jacob Crum or Crume. Uh, Last name Crume. I used a Linux-based pinephone daily for a year. Here's what I learned. When Pine 64 announced the pinephone in 2019, no one could have foreseen the tremendous impact it would have on mobile Linux, desktop Linux, and privacy as a whole. Yeah. What? Where's it? What impact? It doesn't work. That's the only impact it had. Anyway, that's lie number one. Oh, pardon me. That's disingenuous comment number one. As one of the few phones designed specifically to run on Linux desktop, it had all the features of a low-end Android phone. Now I want you to remember that as I read this. All the features of a low-end Android phone, right? I own a low-end Android phone, so I know what that means. And all the other people who have a low-end Android phone. And I'm going to assume low-end means when it was new, it was $600 or less. Or used, but low-end. Anyway, let's continue. You had all the features of a low-end Android phone. Now, I got to point something out. Low-end Android phones actually work as smartphones, and they make and receive calls. They do videos. They do all the shit that the pinephone can't do. So that's disingenuous statement number two. Unfortunately, desktop Linux is just that. It's made for desktops, not phones. Fortunately, thanks to the incredible power of GNOME, KDE, Pine 64, and general Linux communities, whole new desktop environments, applications, and distributions were born. Some of the more recognizable ones, Plasma Mobile, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, we don't want to hear about it. With all the key pieces in place, all Pine 64 needed was to sell the Pinephones, and sell Pinephones they did. Every community edition, each preloaded with a different distro, pre-ordering round received thousands of orders, one of which was mine. Thousands of people are getting burned with the Pinephone. Thousands. I don't know if now how does he know that? Does he know the manufacturer? Did they give him any statistics? How does he know that? Is he the CEO of the company in disguise? Him and Pizza Loving Nerd are on the board of directors? I don't know, but we got to take that with a grain of salt. If they sold thousands of them, my class action lawsuit is going to be huge. Okay, let's continue on. Since I received my unit in December 2020, the Pinephone has been a key part in my daily life, with me using it as my daily driver for the whole of 2021. Here are my experiences with it. Pinephone has just enough power to do most basic phone tasks. Even simple things like opening Firefox can take almost 20 seconds. And he has an illustration above saying it's slow as molasses. And it's not the most robust, but none of the applications work anyway, so it doesn't really matter. You can scroll up and down the screen all you want, and it's quite robust, but it doesn't do anything else, except the flashlight works. Very good. Anyway, I digress. Okay, this is a stark comparison to the modern mid-range and high-end Android phones. Now he's not talking about low-end phones. Now he's talking about mid-range and high-end Android phones. It's a stark comparison with the low-end ones as well. Anyway, all of which have 8 cores running at least 2 gigahertz. Fortunately, the community has again stepped in. I guess that's the Linux community, implementing thousands of small software optimizations while still not as performant as its Android competitors. So it still sucks, even with the community stepping in with thousands of stuff. It still sucks. This does mean the Pinephone is pretty usable for most phone tasks, even some desktop-oriented apps when using an external monitor through the included dock. which I was stupid enough to get one of. Despite all of this, the pinephone is capable enough for most situations, even if it might stutter a bit here and there. But what about the battery? Can it really last all day? And a picture showing, I'm not sure what, but the battery is ... okay. Anyway, I would love to be able to say that thanks to the pinephone's low power components, the battery life is incredible. I know I said that, and it was tongue in cheek in a pinephone video about the battery, because the pinephone battery sucks. Okay. Unfortunately, this is not the case. Even after all the battery saving improvements that have been implemented, after charging it overnight, I usually read the news in the morning, followed by some more at lunchtime. Even though this amounts to less than an hour of screen on time, the battery still drops to about 35% pretty consistently, leaving me with just 65% for the afternoon. So he's claiming he'll lose his 35% in an hour. I dispute that claim. My experience with the pinephone is it drops 1% per minute while in use. So if you run it for an hour and you're at 100%, you're at 40% by the time you're done, and you're thinking about plugging in somewhere because it's going to die soon. That's my experience. Him, however, he has a much better experience. Anyway, I'm not sure how he's doing it, but I don't believe it. So he's claiming he has 65% for the afternoon. Fortunately, this is not a major issue, especially when the mode of deep sleep function works perfectly. I found by the afternoon, especially if you get a couple of phone calls, you're plugged in already because your battery is exhausted. Plus the phone is getting very hot from phone calls. I don't know if it's software or hardware problem, but it's dead and hot. Okay, so fortunately, this 65% he talks about left over is not a major issue, especially as the modem's deep sleep function works perfectly. For those of you who don't know, almost all mobile phones put the phone. I'm not going to read into that anyway. From my experience, the implementation of deep sleep in the phone has been absolutely incredible, with not a single call being missed. Well, I miss lots of calls because the phone doesn't work properly. And even when I did get phone calls, they were terrible to do. You can't use Bluetooth headset. You can use a wired headset inconveniently, and you don't dare use speakerphone. Some distros has a terrible echo, where other ones seem to work fine. So again, low-end Android phone. It was a comparison. Right? I remember I asked you to keep that in mind. This is not low-end Android quality we're talking about. This is substandard quality. And he's using this every day, allegedly. I don't believe it for a minute, but let's continue. As a result, the pinephone screen-off battery life has been pretty impressive, considering its terrible screen on time. A little honesty there. It's terrible screen on time. It drains the battery fast. I've consistently managed more than 60 hours of battery life with minimum usage time. I'm sorry, you're a liar. Or you've got it plugged in. No, I don't believe that for a minute. And of course, most people reading this don't know all the things that you need to know. And see, this is a sucker sales pitch, because at the bottom he's got a link to order a pinephone. So he's on the take. I'm sure he's getting $10 for everyone that he directs over to the pinephone site for the 1,000 plus that they've sold. Anyway. Now we're talking about the camera. With a measly 5 megapixel rear and a 2 megapixel front camera, don't expect to be taking professional grade photos. Even mini USB webcams offer better image quality. That's for sure. The pinephone camera sucks. It can't do videos. It really sucks. And it creates a duplicate file along with the image. I'm not sure what that's all about, but there's a bunch of cleanup to do in the storage folder where you keep your pictures for all the I'll call it debris that builds up. A small amount of post-processing done does help clean up the photos a bit, although not enough to make them social media ready. In other words, they suck, right? Remember, low-end Android. That's what we're comparing with, right? He set the bar. Low-end Android. A low-end Android takes better pictures. Anyway, and he does a comparison with an Apple and a pinephone picture. They don't look that differently, so I don't know what's going on there. Um, the pictures are similar in quality. You can go to the site and look at it yourself. Between the ancient SoC, average battery life, disingenuous again. It's not average. It's very very poor. Lackluster cameras. I love the vocabulary. Ancient, average, lackluster. That's how he's describing it so far. And this is comparing with a low-end Android. It's clear that PinePhone's hardware is definitely not its forte, but can the software save it? Within the world of mobile Linux, there are three major players in the desktop environment space: Plasma, Posh, Lamiri, something like that. Over the course of my time daily driving the PinePhone, I spent roughly 4 months with each environment. During this time, I found a number of different features, problems, levels of matureness between them, which I will be discussing here. Okay, so I'm not going to give you the pain of having to listen to all this blah 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 about the software. Only thing I'd like to add is that I'm pretty sure PinePhone decided to go with one distro, and everybody got mad, and half the developers have quit. So I think it's a death blow anyway to the whole project. And we'll see how it went. So I'm going to skip over that. You guys can go to the website and read it if you want to read it. Anyway, my concluding thoughts on the PinePhone. Over the course of my time with it, I spent time with almost all the different operating systems available for it, as well as with every desktop environment. As I said before, its performance is generally quite poor, although Lamri and Plasma Mobile were smooth enough. I don't take photos that often, so the camera got very little use. That's how you can have it as a daily driver. If you don't want videos, who needs it, right? However, when I did take photos, they were generally good enough, even if they weren't particularly high quality. So the camera sucks, just admit it. In general, I think the biggest weakness of the PinePhone is actually the battery life. Really, I'm surprised. You talked about it being so great with 65% for the afternoon. It's all a pile of crap, isn't it? The battery is terrible. A full charged battery is dead in 4 hours with average use, or just being turned on and a few text messages. And he doesn't mention what happens when someone sends you an SMS media attachment to a text message, how it hangs the phone and you can't receive any text messages until you solve the problem, and it's difficult to do while you're on the road. That's for sure. He doesn't mention anything about that. Anyway, in general, I think the biggest weakness of the PinePhone is actually battery life. That's because even just turning it on to check the time wakes up the modem, causing the battery to drain quickly, unless you made an effort not to turn it on. So he's using it every day, and he makes an effort to not turn it on. That's not using it every day. That's disingenuous. Fortunately, I always made sure to carry a spare battery with me that I could pop in. A low-end Android doesn't need a spare battery to make the phone function all day. Here I could also insert an SD card to be used as additional storage. As to be expected, the PinePhone is not waterproof. Well, I don't put mine in the lake. I don't know why you would mention that. No electronic device is waterproof. They're water resistant at best. When I was inside, I often found myself using it with an external monitor and a dock. With this setup, I was surprised at how capable the PinePhone was as a laptop. But who cares whether I buy a Pine laptop if I want a laptop? You buy a Pine phone because you want a phone, not a laptop. I don't know what it is. See, this is the problem with that Kool-Aid you guys keep drinking. You got mechanical misfortune there. And here comes the biggest joke of the whole thing. Overall, even with its quirks, my year with the PinePhone went quite well, and I never really found myself longing for my Android. What a liar. He probably slipped his SIM card into his Android every day when his PinePhone crapped out just after lunch. That was my experience with it. Regardless of the distro, regardless of keeping it turned off, power saving, whatever. Uh, Please, stop drinking the Kool-Aid. Stop sharing your lies with everyone. Anyway, if you want to get a pine phone for yourself, aha, here comes the sales pitch. This is why he's disingenuous, because he wants his commission. At the time of writing, there are two models available: 16, 32, blah, 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 blah. The model in use in this review is the 3 gig version, $200 US, 2 gigs, $149. And then he's got a little link, get a pine phone, and it's a link to the site so he can get his commission. And the Kool-Aid drinking continues, the disingenuous information continues, and it needs to stop. Pine phone is a piece of crap. It always has been a piece of crap. It still continues to be a piece of crap. And now the developers have all quit. So no, you know what's going to save pine phone? AI. Someone's going to take the AI GPT, whatever it's called, and they're going to write the proper code that works on the phone, and it's going to be a great phone, and it's going to ring, and it's going to do videos, and it's going to do all the crap that it can't do currently, because the Linux community can't step up to the plate and get the job done. And who would want to anyway? Because no one's paying you. Oh, you guys are suckers, and you need to stop trying to find more suckers to compensate you financially for your suckerness. So please, just stop it, okay? Stop with the good reviews of a crappy phone. It's not a good phone. It's substandard to low-end Android. It doesn't work. Deal with it. And in closing, I'll read his last comment. Let's just hope that the upcoming PinePhone Pro can keep this positive trend up with its more powerful hardware. What positive trend is he talking about? I don't. Did anyone see a positive trend in anything that I just discussed with you? I don't see one thing. Not one. The battery sucks. It doesn't work. It's crap. Thanks for listening, everybody.